Happy Sunday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. Another episode of the Get Out with my You've Gotta Be Shot tinning partner, Mr. Matt Carlson. Oh, Matt, what a weekend, man.
Yeah, there's a reason we're doing this on Sunday. So
Yeah, this is just like one of the weird weekends where we couldn't get our schedules lined up. But we want to get something out. Obviously, it's about 11:30 Eastern time. So we got probably about 8 hours before this Del Mar late pick three. So hopefully some of you guys will get some value out of this. But if not, hopefully we hit and then we can red board in this next weekend and be like, look, you just got to be ready for this thing to drop at any moment. So
that's really what we
uh,
want to do. So
yeah, exactly. Right, red board. That's um
you can't let
the
on all the stuff that you bet
red board
otherwise,
alert
right?
there.
You look like an idiot if you post every ticket. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, I know. And then I start posting every ticket
Yeah,
on
same.
Discord, and then the one time I don't post something, things turn sideways. But
Mm-hmm.
anyways, we interesting weekend. Obviously we are men of many hobbies. You have much less time than I do for these hobbies, but I went out and played my first round of golf since, get this, 2017. I did not think it had been that long. But I re-downloaded the Grint, which was my golf app of choice, and I went back to look at my last round, and yeah, the last round was posted in 2017, which is just, I mean, I don't know where the time went. I was talking to my buddy who's like, hey, we should go out golfing, and I'm like, yeah, it's been a couple years. Me thinking it was like 2 years since I had last been out, not 7. So, um, Matt, you've seen some of my swing videos I was posting, and just trying to like figure out, like, am I going to even get the ball in the air at all in this during this round, and you successfully actually nailed
I,
my
I
score on the nose, which is
I
pretty disgusting.
I was gonna say that, and that like we need some prediction markets here because you posted, you're like, I'm gonna shoot 130, and you're posting these swing videos and whatnot, and I literally go, you hit it well enough to shoot 110, like whatever, just an offhanded comment, and then you come
Yep.
back and you post the exact 110, and I am like, wow, if I could only use these talents for anything I could actually bet on, fantastic. But hey, win's a win.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Well, and like I said, the funny thing is I went to the range a total of twice before going, and when I go to the range, when I was younger, I mean, we would go to the range, we would get a jumbo bucket, right, which is like 120 or 150 balls or something, and just go to town, and then like maybe get a beer and a Gatorade and just like hang out. And like, I no man, I get a small, which is like 40 balls, and I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm good, and then go head out. But I did a total of two small buckets at over two no, two range sessions, and I spent 20 minutes at the short game area chipping, and I did not putt at all. So I went into this being like, dude, I'm gonna three putt everything. I'm going to just this is just gonna be a mess. And I actually putt okay, which was actually the interesting thing. I nailed a like 30 or 40 foot putt,
Yeah, you're telling me
which is
for
just,
for triple, right, or something like
yeah,
that,
for
right?
triple
They
bogey.
they
Yeah,
always
yeah,
go in a little bit easier when
that
when you're
was,
putting for triple.
or what was it? Maybe it was for double. I forget, but it was a par three. I put it into the green side bunker. I hit it into the opposite green side bunker. Then I think it took me 2 hits to get out of that bunker, and then I sink the putt.
There you go.
So it was just,
So I mean, that's a par if you get out the first time, right? Yeah, it's just look at it
yeah.
that way. So
Um, and then I took a 10 on a par five, where it was like the second to last hole, and everything just like fell apart that hole. But other than that, like I said, it wasn't all that bad. The ball at least went forward most of the time. Uh, on that aforementioned par five, there was one. I literally I hit a like 7 iron, and I was like kind of under a tree, and I thought I could get over it if with enough loft, but it literally solid hit into a branch. One of like the most solid hits you'll ever see. I like literally thought the ball was gonna come back at me, and we didn't see the ball leave. Like I think I might have planted that ball inside the tree because we didn't see it ricochet off anywhere. Um, so it was just that was just a wild hole, but it was pretty good. My buddy, it was one of my friends from high school who I haven't seen in probably about 7 years. But he was like, he'd asked me to go pretty far out. Well, not for me, and it didn't feel real far out. It's about a 45-minute drive for me to this course. And he's like, "Oh, this must have been really far for you." I was like, "No, it's about 45 minutes." I'm like, "Your house is only like 25 minutes, 30 minutes from my house." He's like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah." Uh, and so now he's like, "Oh, I didn't realize you were that close. Like we should play more often." I was like, "Yeah, dude." I was like, "I love playing. I just don't like playing solo. Like because I used to love playing solo because you used to be able to actually play solo.
Yeah, they just let you out. Yeah.
Yeah, now it's like the courses, at least especially like in my proximity here, they're so busy, like you would
Yeah.
never be able to get off as solo. So but we went to this place. It was $40 with the cart. Um and the course was actually in very, very good shape. The greens were municipal greens, right? The
Yeah.
people the grounds crew takes care of them. The people playing don't take care of them, right? Like
Yeah.
one of the
That's
one
the
of the
shitty
holes,
part.
like I was asking my buddy, I'm like, I can't tell if this is diseased, like the green is diseased, or if it's just a bunch of like ball marks that people didn't like fix because it was a little rough. But that was really the only one that was kind of bad. Um, there was, and honestly, my buddy, there was one putt that like the green definitely affected. And he's like, dude, he's like, if you didn't hit that little whatever was growing there, like you would have, that would have gone in. Um, but I mean, the rest of the course was in good shape. I mean, the sand is Muni sand, which is, like mix of sand and dirt. At least it was a little bit more fluffy, so I could kind of get out and blast out of it. But
Yeah.
but for $40, and the fact that we went out as two and didn't get paired up with anybody, we had one group behind us that maybe occasionally would have to wait like a minute for us to hit like total. So it wasn't like a huge thing. And uh yeah, it was like compared to how much courses are now. I mean, $40 is a freaking steal with a cart on a Saturday. So
Yeah.
um
Yeah, I used to tell you, I mean, I used to play a lot before kids, and I would play pretty much every weekend. And I think at my best, I got down to like a 7 handicap, which is about where it's like, okay, people that play with you would say you're good at golf, but at the same time, you're not good enough to actually, do anything, right? It's not like you're playing competitively or anything like
mhm,
that, right? But it's respectable. And the problem is you're playing every Saturday. I was playing in a league. When you play in a league, you're not just golfing yourself. You're waiting for other groups. You're getting early to warm up. You're driving each way. Like we would travel around, and those were like 9, 10 hour days. And with kids, you just can't do that.
yeah.
The other problem is golf is a really hard sport to quit when you're a 7. Like you got to keep up with that a little bit. Like you at
Mhm.
least have to go and play. And I play like once or twice a year now. So I go out and it just frustrates the hell out of me that I'm not as good as I was back, 10, 11 years ago before I had kids and back when I was in a, you know, young 30-year-old body instead of a pushing 40 body. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't get out that much, but it was fun. We played, part of the reason we're doing this on Sundays because I had a work scramble on Friday. And we were, imbibing a little bit, and you were getting home late, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna make it. Like, I can't stay awake till 11 o'clock after going out in the sun at 9 a.m. and drinking banana flavored whiskey. Please, big
God.
tip for anyone listening to the show: don't buy Holler whiskey or whatever the hell it is. I think it's from Total Wine. Yeah, that stuff is a war crime, I think is the way I phrased it to you. So yeah. But all in all, hey, I got out. It was a fun day. Glad we could do this, and now we're back here to the real stuff. So
Yep. The I was telling my buddy, we're catching up, and I was like, yeah, because like recently, just to get into more nerd stuff, I've been playing Magic the Gathering again with my buddies. So we've been doing like the pre-releases, and we do Commander Night, which is just like one casual format, and
yeah,
um, so I've started like ordering some cards and packs and stuff like that, like, and I'm like, yeah, I'm like, well, horse racing's not been going great the last couple of years or last couple of months. I'm like, so I have to turn to other expensive hobbies like golf and Magic the Gathering to better use my money. Um, but yeah, no, yeah, this pick three here. I'll tell you, man, this is definitely a tough one. Um, I think the
this
middle leg. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say this card in general seems like a okay. We had our big field sizes, we had really good races, and let's hit the mid meet lull a little bit, waiting for those other
Yeah.
horses to start running back at the end of it. So that's how this kind of entire card read to me.
I
It's not
mean,
one that I think I'd otherwise be playing, but
yeah, real talk. I think Saratoga's kind of going through the same thing.
yes,
Because Saturday, I think Saturday they had so many maiden races, and then today again, I think four of the first six races are maidens, and it's just like, man, like I get it. Like maiden races are very important, right? And obviously the maiden races at these meets are great. Like you see this is where like you see the debuts for future Kentucky Derby horses and stuff like that. Like but as handicappers, right? Like you think about this meet and you think about like these are like the premier meets of the summer, and you expect to see, you know, these like claiming races and allowance races be just very, very salty, real, good fields and stuff. And, it seems like we're getting less of that and more maiden races. But
yeah, and those are tough, especially I think at places like this, because it just seems like sometimes, and especially at Saratoga, like sometimes those firsters and those maidens, it seems like the whole backside knows what's going on and you don't. And it's just like, what the hell? I don't know. Sometimes there's opportunities and stuff falls through the cracks, but other times you're like just watching the board to see what everyone else is doing because they're going to know before you do. So it's
yeah.
frustrating. But yeah, hopefully, I'm sure it usually does this, right? It kind of hits, at least Saratoga like post Whitney, and then a couple weeks later comes back. Travers is usually good and then winds up. So
Yep. So race 7 here is going to start our late pick $3 minimum. And your morning line favorite in here is the two Certitude, excuse me. At 5-2, you get 7-2 on Silent Law, and then you get 3-1 on Bits Tiger Magic. So the three kind of clear cut short prices, and then they kind of start to get long. 6-1 on Miss Roberts, and then 8-1 on Nay V Bell, and then double digits on the rest in here. Man, I landed on Certitude in this spot for a couple of reasons. The one Silent Law, you know, Bob Baffert's had more success on the turf the last couple years. But I mean, he's said it straight out on in interviews like, yeah, I put a horse on the turf when I think he's not going to be good on the dirt. And granted, this is a pretty I think this is a pretty talented horse. Finished second in the Santa Anita Oaks, right? And then they decided, hey, we're gonna try a grade two, the San Clemente, and the horse kind of ran up the track in that race. Got a decent uh, time form fig, 100 in that one, but I'm just not really sure about this horse on the turf. Um, in that Santa Anita Oaks. Kind of ran against the bias. Timeform had that race as a closer bias day, and this was a horse that was right up on the pace and stayed on the pace and finished second and beat a nice horse in Vodka with a Twist in that race, right? So yeah, I just think that maybe that was just going to turf is just like they just don't know what to do with this horse for some reason. But I don't know. This just looks like a dirt horse to me. So I didn't want anything to do with that horse. Bits Tiger Magic. Um, one last out, going 5 furlongs at Del Mar, kind of set off a pace and closed and won pretty easily there. Um, but I don't know, like the two Certitude. The reason I like this horse is, I look at that last race, that turf allowance race, and that was a race that kind of fell apart, right? If you go back and look through the race, um, right, you see Hector Barrios had this horse in second and basically kind of stayed even, took the lead in a straight and got passed by a horse, right? But let's look at the first place winner. Started off in sixth, right? Was sitting in fifth, was fourth, so kind of had that closing, closing line there. The horse that finished in third, same thing. Started in seventh and ended up kind of closing in. The horse that finished in fourth, same thing. Just kind of sat out deep and passed a couple tired horses. And then you see the other horses that were kind of close. The two other horses that were close up on the pace just absolutely folded. So I think that was probably a better effort than it looked. Time Form also did because Time Form actually upgraded it. And then you look at the runbacks. Sunset Glory came back. Finished eighth, but basically verified that figure was legit, right? Ran a 110, came back, ran another 110. Same thing. The eighth place finisher came back. Fifth place finisher came back, same figure, and heck, the last place horse came back and improved massively and finished third in a 5 furlong race. So um, I really think that this is that effort. I mean, Timeform gave it the fastest figure in the field, and I think that was it's a valid figure. I think it was deserved, and I think that this is a deserving favorite. And I'm going to single here because if I got a single somewhere to make this ticket affordable, it's going to be in this race because the other races are kind of crazy. But what did you kind of land here?
Yeah, I kind of played follow the jockey in this race, I think. And again, I'm with you that this is a tough race. They're all tough races. I think, horses like Certitude and Bits Tiger Magic could win, but I think both those horses are kind of the key of where I went off of to say I don't want to play those horses. Specifically, I'll start with Certitude, or no, I'll start with Bits Tiger Magic. So, look, Bits Tiger Magic has won 4 straight races, right? Um, my thought in here is if you look at who rode that horse in those 4 races, it was all Juan Hernandez, right? I mean, it was all JJ riding those horses. And I know, look, that there's a reason that he's going to hop to a Baffert horse in a lot of circumstances, right? So maybe I'm looking way too far into this. But on the other hand, in my mind, how often does a jockey hop off a horse that has 4 straight wins, regardless of what's going on, right? Like, and again, maybe I'm getting too cute here, but if this horse had anything, especially for Peter Miller, I got to imagine Juan would be up, and he's not. He's on Silent Law on the one. And so that for me is enough thought to say, okay, I obviously have questions about Silent Law. But if I think I'm getting value on a Baffert that's trying something new and cutting back, he's getting Lasix, which I think could, kind of pop how this horse actually runs. He's obviously changing a lot here. He's going route to sprint, he's dropping in class, he's getting Lasix, etc. And the way Juan's been riding, I mean, you look yesterday, he was lights out. He was eating everyone's lunch. If this horse isn't favored, to me, he's got to be value, right? Just based on kind of those intangibles of like, yeah, I don't know what's he's going to run, but neither does anybody else. And so this could just be the best horse. And so I think I'm going to try that in here just because I really don't want 5-2 on Certitude or 3-1 on Bits Tiger Magic, right? I think there's more value in this one, again, if the morning line stays. And if it doesn't, maybe that indicates, well, hey, this horse probably is good. And, you'll see the board kind of shift that way too. So that's my first play. And then, similar from looking at Certitude, if you look at it, this horse is finished in the place money, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9 out of the last 10 races. And what, 10 out of the last 12? This horse is a serial board hitter at a lot of different distances. But why is Hector hopping off? Right? Like, where is he going if this horse has 2 firsts and a second? He's going to the 7. Why? I don't really know. right? I mean, why would he be riding this Jeff Mullins horse that, yeah, he had rode before, hopped off for Juan, and now he's hopping back? To me, if Certitude was worthy of 5-2, he'd be riding there. And granted, look, I think Hector's a much better turf router than he is a turf sprinter from a jockey perspective. But I do think he's the second best turf rider in this colony, or maybe even first, depending on if you want to debate from a JJ perspective. But if I get 6-1 on this horse and he's trying, same sort of thing, right? He's getting Lasix back. He's trying 5 furlongs for the first time, gets the drop in class. I think he gets overlooked, right? And so I think I'd rather take the unknowns with the best jockeys up in here than kind of the chalk. And if I get burnt, I got burnt a lot of weeks here. So that's fine. So I'll just be 1-7. I'll try and fade kind of the 2 and the 3 in here, who I do think will kind of go off as your favorites, maybe along with that one, depending on how the board breaks. But just kind of trying to scrape some value out of here rather than go to the horses that maybe have shown what they can do on paper before.
All right. Let's move on to race 8. We're going to be going 5.5 furlongs on the dirt here. Got California bred allowance. And yeah, this one, your morning line favorite is going to be I believe it's the 9. Devil Among Us at 7-2. 4-1 on Titanic Thompson. And then 5-1 on Let Me In. 5-1 on Sir Rocket. Double digits on the rest. You got an AE in here in the 13. Matt, where did you land here?
Yeah, I kind of just defaulted, I think, to speed in here, right? I mean, I do think 5.5 furlongs at Del Mar does play towards being towards the front. There's just not a lot of room to, try and pass in the stretch. And so to me, I wanted horses on the lead. That said, I thought Titanic Thompson in here would take too much money. I know you see the 4-1 morning line, but I do think that horse, just given, you kind of see the figs, you see that horse moving forward. He's probably going to take the most in here. I do think he goes off favored. I don't know. It's just one of those horses that, yeah, he probably could win. Yeah, I probably should use him. I don't know. I just don't. To me, it's like he should have won at 5. If he couldn't hold on at 5, I granted, you're showing on screen there that horse was favored, or that course was favoring closers according to that, and Maldonado was riding, who I don't think has a win yet. So maybe I'm talking myself back onto the 8 rather than who I'm going to give you. So I'll probably pencil that back in. But yeah, I don't know. I try to get around this horse, I think, because I thought, hey, he's just going to take a fair bit of money in here, and to me, should have won last out. I think he's cutting back. So yeah, I don't know. All right, I'm definitely talking myself into this horse. Anyway, I'll give you 2 others. I like the 9. I thought Devil Among Us was, kind of the speed of the speed in here. For this horse, I did like the cutback. I think this just screams to me like the shorter the better, right? I don't think this horse has tried the distance in at least a while. He's been running at that 6.5, and I think just one of those horses that if it's playing more speed favored at 5.5, probably benefits from the cutback. I mean, at the same time, this horse hasn't gotten it done all that much, but Labrado's been incredibly hot, right? I mean, I think he's over the last couple of weeks, he's hitting around 50%, like 3 for 6. So he's bringing live horses. Granted, I think those horses have been at a fair bit of price, and I don't think you get something like that here. But I do think, look, he's speed of the speed, should appreciate the cutback, should appreciate stepping back into state bred company is the other thing you see there, right? A lot of these have been kind of racing in those Cali races, and this is one that I believe is, he's been running a couple of non-restricted races, and now he steps back in. So, hopefully with that, he kind of appreciates running against state breds again and some of the Cali breds rather than kind of those open fields. I think that's probably enough of an excuse of why he hasn't gotten it done, at least the past couple. The other horse I debated, and again, I think it's price dependent, but I think if you get above the morning line in here, maybe was the 10 Let Me In. I don't know what happened last out. He had no early foot, and there really wasn't an excuse just breaking like that. He did he got floated way wide, but it all kind of came back to the break, and I just don't know what was going on in there. I was kind of hoping this horse would show more speed. I don't know. I think any return to form, he can probably get lost on the board and maybe provide some value. I'm not encouraged by kind of the work he's had since and kind of everything else that was going on. So, again, looking at the board, I may be 8-9 instead of 9-10, but I had I had mostly the 9 and the 10 in here trying to get around the 8 because I thought the 8 would take too much money, and I thought the 10 with kind of that return to form with Kimura could potentially show something and present some value in here.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're pretty similar. I actually was fading the 9 in this spot, mostly because I see JJ jumping off, and I kind of feel like the last two races he kind of had things his own way and still wasn't able to win. And granted, right, those were open claiming races, and he's coming into state bred, so maybe it's just was way too tough in those spots. But I got the fade on the 9, and then I landed on the 8. Titanic Thompson is my top pick. You kind of already mentioned all the reasons that you were realizing as you were talking
All the
through
reason that I
them.
should have bet it, but yeah.
The closered bias day per time form on that July 18th course. And he set up right on the pace. Edwin, the switch from Edwin to JJ is big. And once again, this is just another race you kind of look, right? The winner came from off the pace. Um, the third place horse just kind of ran in place and let me in that race. Did close for a bit, and that's the other horse I'm using. Let me in, kind of for the reasons that you were mentioning. You look at this horse's PPs. This horse is never 7 lengths off the pace. This horse never 5 lengths off the pace. This horse was both 5 and 7 lengths off the pace in that last race. And granted, it was a closer bias day, and the horse still ran up. But I just think that this horse's natural run style is to press the pace. Sit third or fourth, not eighth by 5.5 lengths as soon as the gates pop. So I'm kind of like, even though that figure fits in here, I'm kind of crossing the line through that race. And you see a horse that in the last three races has got a little bit better form, right? You got a horse with a win, um, you know, uh, a third, a second by a half length, right? And then you kind of cross the line through that last race because that wasn't what the horse I think wanted to do. Mark Glatt very very good at these sprint races. I think he's like an 18 to 20% trainer on these sprint races here. So I expect him to have this horse primed to fire pretty well. So I have that horse as my other lone A or my other A. Two horses that I kind of gave a look to. The 3 Sir Rocket, uh, first time dirt here for Neil Drysdale. Um, this is just kind of a, how do I put it? I think this is more of like a figure conversion thing for me. And granted, right, like this could just be anecdotal, right? I don't have any good statistical backup for this, but in general, I always feel like uh, time form figs on turf are usually a little bit higher than kind of what you get on dirt. Um, And so I just thought that this was kind of interesting that this is a horse that's run a pretty fast figure here, but has not kind of switched over to the dirt yet. Mike Smith stays aboard here, and this is a horse that actually won a 5 furlong turf race on the dirt. So I, this was just kind of a weird move for me, and so I'm just kind of like I'm interested to see how this horse runs in this spot, right? Because I feel like first time dirt is, you know, uh, I don't know. It's just kind of weird, especially for a horse coming off a win like this. But you got to imagine that there's a reason that they're doing this. You got to imagine there's a reason Mike Smith is riding this horse again. Um, and I mean, I granted like the time form fig of 105 to dirt is probably closer to 100. So this horse might be a little bit slow, but I don't know. I mean, maybe if he's been on the wrong surface the whole time, maybe you see an improvement on it. But I don't know. I thought this was kind of a weird horse here. And then the 7 Bronco Nagurski. Um, I think oftentimes we get caught up in speed figures and looking at uh, what number was run. But this is a horse that's just coming in off of three straight wins, right? And let alone three straight wins in, now granted, soft but open dirt starter allowance races. Um, so I don't want to leave this horse off my tickets because this is a horse that obviously Jeff Mullins has got going the right way. Tyler Bays has ridden this horse three straight times for three straight wins. Um, this horse is just going well right now. And at 10 to 1, I'm gonna have this horse on most of my tickets. So I'm four wide in this spot. I got the 8 and the 10 as my A's. I got the 3 and the 7 as B's.
Yeah, I gave a look to that 7 actually, mostly because that last race actually came up pretty decent. There were a couple horses that ran back to win out of that race. And I don't know what they ran in because obviously it was running about the cheapest allowance you can, but I think at least one other came back in there
Yeah,
potentially. But
the second place finisher came back to win.
yeah,
Um,
so it's interesting, right? Like I don't know.
I mean, a
Yeah,
horse
I don't
that just wins, right? And in open company coming into a state bred allowance race. I don't know. I just thought that, like, granted, this is time form has got this rated as a higher, like a higher class race, but
for sure.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I thought it was interesting here. All right, last race here, Del Mar race 9, going a mile on the turf, maiden claimer. We got a nice full field here of 12 or 11, and then we got three AEs in the 12, the 13, and 14. Your morning line favorite in here is going to be the 3 Inner Fury at 3 to 1, 4 to 1 on Without a Pout, 6 to 1 on Frog, 5 to 1 on the Laramie, double digits on the rest. Um, and I landed on two horses here that I think they're both going to be, I think, forwardly placed. And granted, Caleb always loves to tell me he loves betting. He loves betting against speed horses coming from Santa Anita running on Del Mar turf because he's like, it's not the same. So here I am just spiting him directly to his face and taking both the speed horses in the 7 Sensational Dream and the 8 Frog. Um, both these horses, I feel like, if you look back, they've had red fractions in all their races. And I think the 7, uh, in particular, I think he is kind of on raw time form figures. He's made a slight step forward in each time. Now, granted, his first time form figure got adjusted much higher, but I think this could just be a horse that's kind of improving in this spot here. Obviously, is coming from maiden to maiden claiming, so taking that big class drop. And this is also a horse that's been looking pretty good on the workout reports. So I like seeing this horse, come back here fourth time out. And yeah, I think that with the improvement this horse has kind of shown here each time, the drop, and the fact that this is a horse I think that has been um, kind of getting unfavorable pace scenarios. I think maybe he's going to get a little bit better of a pace scenario here because really outside of the 8, there's not really any other speed. And while obviously it's best to be lone speed, two speed horses does not make a melt, right? So the 8 Frog is kind of another horse here that has been pretty consistent the last couple tries with 87 time form in all three of those races. This is another horse though that's been working very well here at Del Mar with three straight 48 second works here. And now, granted, this isn't the horse that's dropping. This is a horse that's already um, been running at this level, but um, I think that like once again, I think he's going to get a bit of a easier um, easier time here with less pace pressure. And here I do think a couple of these horses have come back to run and run back and slightly improved their figures. So maybe that 87, maybe that is a little bit better of a number, and I think makes him a little bit more attractive in this field. So I have the 7 and 8 as my lone A's. If the 13 draws in, I think you got to use him. Rehearsal. So I have his horse as an A as well, but obviously he's not in the field as of recording right now. It's currently 9 a.m. Pacific time, so we were probably a little bit of ways from getting scratches. So I like the 13 rehearsal in this spot. This is another horse that's taken the drop. Demuro gets aboard here, and you know when JJ rode this horse first time out, ran a solid fourth there. Closed and finished fourth by a length. In what was kind of a blanket finish at Del Mar. And then he gets Lascano and Kimura the next couple times up. Um, and yeah, I just think that maybe last time Kimura maybe had this horse up a little bit too much on that kind of quickish pace, because that horse kind of just seemed to kind of fade pretty quickly and tired in that race. Whereas you look at the other races, it looked like he wanted to kind of sit back and kind of close a little bit. So I don't know. I thought rehearsal here with the drop, switch to Demuro. I thought that this would kind of be an interesting horse in the spot. So I'll use him as an A if he draws in, but I like the 7 and the 8 in the spot. Only two horses I'm going to use. What did you land?
Yeah, I'll start with the 8. I think I'm using the 8 as a B as well. I think the increase in distance definitely helps this horse. I think he'll be forward. I think he could probably clear the 7 in this
Mhm.
case. And to you, I mean, I think, you know, at least my fix, this horse has been improving a bit as he goes. And this is the get out. So how many times and maybe this is just personal bias, but how many times have we been burned by Kyle Fleury wiring the last race on turf to screw any ticket we have? So I'm using this horse. I don't know if defensively is the right phrase for it, but to me, this is one that I'm like, all right, I got to have it somewhere on a ticket because I could just see, this horse running around and nobody catching him because it's not a great field. Then being like, what the hell if you left it off? So I'll use Frog as a B. Uh, my top pick in here, I think, is the 4 without a pout. Look, I think just to me, the class drop absolutely helps. I think last time at Churchill, kind of got stranded wide in the 10 post and, lost a lot of ground running in there. Leperoux just kind of kept him in the 10 path and never really got in. So I'm willing to toss that race. And I think, look, you get the ship and win angle in here too, which we've talked about before is a pretty big thing. So I think that one to me stands out just as someone that I really want to use, kind of coming in, be the fresh face in this field, whereas a lot of other ones you have some idea on. So I think those Gulfstream races before the 4-month layoff or so were actually both came back pretty strong, and you see horses kind of closing in at Gulfstream, in races that were wired. Those are pretty strong fields. If you can close at Gulfstream, you can close anywhere. And so I think that kind of lends itself towards a horse that has some ability and again willing to toss the last one, drop it in class. There's just a lot of factors that I think add up for this horse that make it kind of a pretty strong A for me compared to the rest of the field. The other horse that I will use in here, I think, is the 2 Alaramo. I think, it's just one of those horses that's kind of that confluence of circumstances. Like one thing that I do is I track all the various angles. And so when I run my, stats that do not work as well as Hong Kong stats, but, I kind of say, okay, if this horse meets a condition, run an ROI on it, right? If a horse is getting Lasix on, if it's off a layoff, if it's moving sprint to route, if it's getting Lasix, if it's dropping class, what's the ROI of that trainer for doing that over the past 2 years? And I kind of fall into the trap of saying, oh, hey, there's a huge list of stuff in this circumstance, right? Everything that I just listed is what this horse has. He's doing something completely different. And sometimes that's really bad because you're just kind of saying, okay, look, like this horse is probably just a dump, right? They're probably trying to get rid of it and they don't know what to do. So they found a spot and they stuck him here and just said, okay, good luck. You can't sprint, so we'll try you in a route. You can't, you weren't running a main special weights, so we'll drop you into claiming ranks, right? And just try and get rid of you. But at the same time, I think at tracks like Del Mar and Saratoga, some of that just doesn't matter, right? Like you're dropping because you want to win sometimes, right? If
Mhm.
connections want their picture taken, um, and granted, I don't know if Eclipse is one that needs their picture taken, but
Mm.
um, I mean, there's something to that, right? Like you want to be in the winner's circle, right? For whatever partnerships you have on that horse, sometimes they just want to get there and they're willing to give up a horse just, at any circumstance to do that. And so maybe this is the right spot, right? There's enough here, I think, at the price. If you get 5-1 on this horse, um, it's worth, right, to me. So I'm willing to use that one as a B. But I think my strongest play in here, probably of the sequence even, is probably in the 4 without a pout. And I'll probably lean on that one heavier in a sequence where I don't have too much to lean on otherwise.
Cool. Did you have a play anywhere else in this card, or
I went back to race 2 for my play. No pick
all
5 this week for us. So
right.
thank goodness, because I don't know that we hit a race in that. Or no, I think we
Yeah.
might have hit one. I think we might have got 1 for 5 last week. So
Oh, there you go. What did you like in here?
I like the 2 Cali Cat. I think again, I talk about the things that I run and track. One angle that I really like looking at in these races is horses that are either flipping, back to getting Lasix, or in the other direction might be losing Lasix. And to me, this is a horse that has run much better on Lasix than he has off. If you look at the Lasix record, he has, one win with Prada Board, and then he has another second where he closed from pretty far back, to run pretty well. And every other race this horse has run has been off Lasix. And so part of the reason that I see value in this horse is because I think people are going to see the ocean side and say, oh, he had a shared race with the one, Lyle the Crocodile, and, in a blanket finish, couldn't get home, right? Finished a fading 5th, as opposed to other horses in this race that, even passed that horse, right? So I'm hoping, and granted, right, people are more savvy than this, so I probably won't get it. But I think, you're basically saying, okay, you're going from Vinny to JJ, which is a huge upgrade. You're getting Lasix back on, which I think this horse will respond to very well. If people are saying, hey, well, he lost share against this field, he must be worse than that horse. That to me is an opportunity to bet. So I think, if you can ever get value on the top jockey in a circumstance where this horse is kind of coming back into it, to me, that's a play. And so that'll kind of be my play on this card, I think, is the 2 Cali Cat. Just again, getting the medication back on, getting back to the right circumstance, the right level against a field where I don't know, nothing really else stood out.
Yeah, I took a look at the Sorrento, and honestly, like,
I tried. I
you
tried that
know,
race. I couldn't.
I mean, I know this is like a huge jump, but I'm gonna take a shot with my cat here for George Papadromo uh, and Diego Herrera. They went wire to wire last time out, obviously in a 2-year-old California bred maiden claimer, right? But they won that race by open lengths, 8 1/4 lengths. Um, on time forms stuff, looks to be the fastest horse early in this spot. Um, so, and I think this is a horse that's just going to have to go. So, granted, these are lightly raced horses, um, right? And you're going to have to, I mean, you see a lot of ones in these kinds of races, right? Um, but yeah, I'm going to try and get around the Baffert. I'm going to try and go with the 4, my cat. And see if we can't steal one on the front end here in a race that I think is maybe I think it's a little soft. I mean, maybe Himika is just the goods, right? But obviously that was a speed favoring track that he just sat on the right off the pace and just went in and closed and won easily. So yeah, I'm just gonna go with the 4 here and see if we can spike a little 10-1.
Yeah. I think Papadromo seems to run big in big spots. So
He does. So I don't know. We'll see what happens here. I think it'll be a fun race to watch at least. But um, that's gonna do it for us here on the Get Out. Check us out at ontherwronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. I am at Cherry Drank. Matt is at Slow and Steadied. What is the countdown to shots in?
I think we are less than a month out now. I think right after Labor Day it starts back up. So
There we go. So we'll be home soon.
can't
Have a
wait.
good weekend, guys. Make some money.